use of tactical nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons. He told a Democratic fundraiser Thursday that the underperformance of Putin's troops in Ukraine has increased the potential for the Russian leader to consider weapons of mass destruction. The president said the threat level hasn't been this high since the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962.
Fox's Jill Nato in Washington. The White House says it has warned Russia against using nuclear weapons. U.S. military forces have taken out 2 key ISIS leaders in separate actions in Syria. An airstrike knocking out one of the group's top 5 leaders in Syria came hours after a U.S. raid in the northeastern part of the country, resulting in the death of Wahid al-Shamri, an ISIS weapons smuggler. President Biden Thursday taking a stand on pot.
No one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana.
So he signed a presidential pardon for more than 6,000 people who'd been convicted on federal possession charges.
It's interesting because none of the 6,500 people this impacts are in federal custody. Many more, though, in state and local custody. So he is urging state and local officials to issue the same kind of pardon. Officials are telling us at the White House the president is just delivering on a campaign promise, and this isn't timed to the upcoming midterms.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. The president admits he's disappointed in Saudi Arabia's support of OPEC's decision to cut oil exports by 2 million barrels a day. White House reportedly now considering reducing U.S. sanctions against Venezuela to increase its oil output. Sources tell Fox News federal investigators have completed their investigation of Hunter Biden and believe there is enough evidence to charge the president's son with tax violations. America is listening to Fox News.
The Point is KUSG.
Forecast with America's weather team in the palm of your hand.
Sidus Maasi Guam for 40 amazing years of support for the UOG Endowment Foundation. Through your generous contributions, we have been able to award many student scholarships, help fund college programs, and facilitate capital improvement projects at the University of Guam. As we celebrate this milestone occasion, we look forward to your continued partnership and many more years of collaboration with our island community. Viva UOG Endowment Foundation.
Half a day. This is Clara Manglania from Security Title. A power of attorney can be a useful tool in a real estate transaction, but if abused, it can result in devastating loss. Choosing your representative should be done with the utmost care and should be very specific about the powers being granted. To mitigate loss, the team at Security Title confirms with the owner prior to using a power of attorney to sell the property. Each transaction is unique. Let the professionals at Security Title use our experience to facilitate a secure closing. We are here to help.
An offer from the University of Florida to become the school's next president. Sources tell Fox News Sass could resign from the Senate as soon as December. He was elected to a second term in 2020. Nebraska's Republican governor would appoint someone to fill the vacancy before a special election in 2024. Sass was critical at times of former President Trump and was one of 7 Senate Republicans to vote to convict Trump in his second impeachment trial following the January 6th Capitol riot. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A man with a knife stabbed several people on the Las Vegas Strip Thursday, killing 2 people and wounding 6 others, 3 of whom are reported to be in critical condition. A suspect has been arrested. The motive for the attack, not clear. In California, murder charges have been filed against Jesus Salgado. He's the man accused of kidnapping and murdering a family of 4. The sheriff in Merced County says Salgado used to have a contentious relationship with the family when he worked for them. A study finds efforts to coax kids away from vaping aren't working as well as hoped.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention study surveyed about 28,000 high school and middle school students from January through May. 14% responded they had vaped recently. That's up from 11% the year before. 28% said they did it every day, and a whopping 85% claimed to use flavored products. However, the CDC does caution that more students responded to this year's survey in school, that is, pandemic restrictions eased, and that vaping is known to be more prevalent in school than at home. The number of kids vaping is still half of what it was in 2019, when 28% responded they had recently vaped. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
And I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Gas is expensive, so let the bank come to you. Through our remote deposit capture, you can deposit your checks into your account from your phone. And with our Dynamite Bank Pacific Visa debit card, you can use your money anytime, anywhere. It's the perfect combo.
future. Services to choose. Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal housing lender. Member FDIC. Crank it up.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Tell me about it, stud.
Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Festival is back on Saturday, October 22nd. We rockin' and rollin' at the Dusatani Guam Resort from 2 to 10 p.m. Bring your friends and come dressed in your best grease costume to win up to $500 in cash and prizes. So bust out those leather jackets and 50-style outfits as we party the night away at Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Fest. Don't be a square. Get your tickets now at craftbeerfestguam.com or cruise on by any 76 Circle K location. Now that's cool, baby.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome, folks, to Tall Tales. I'm almost here. Let me get my headphones on real quick. There we go. Little peek down below there. The shirt. We're getting myself situated. You are listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. My name is Jose. In the booth is Daryl. He will be pushing buttons and answering phone calls.
Hopefully on time.
Just Johnny Utah's buttons. And also the boards. The boards buttons. Today is Friday. It is the last day of the week. The last Tall Tales of the week. But do not be too filled with sorrow, because we will be back on Monday for a new edition of Tall Tales. Another week with me and Daryl. We have 2.5 weeks left before the return of the king.
I'm having too much fun to be counting days.
Okay. Don't count the days then. Count the days that have gone behind.
And we have a whole day ahead of us, 2 hours today.
Yes, sir. A full 2 hours, closer to a full 2 hours. Just trying to get situated here because I was reading something I thought was pretty funny. But we'll share it later on. Has to do with the title today. And you guys could probably guess where that's coming from. But let's go to Zemikani. Ace Take. We're coming from the Guam Pacific Daily News, and it's just a little bit of a rehash of touting the accolades for GVB. This time with a grant that's been around for a number of years now, and some pretty cool stuff coming out of it. One of my friends, one of everybody's friends, I think, his name is Ron Santos, came out of that first group, the first cohort of the gift, gift grant. But let me read the editorial. Engage. GVB launches unique gift visitor experience. Find ways to participate. One of Guam's most important and unique features is our culture, more specifically our people. Oh, just real quick, I forgot to go a little bit on Mr. Ron Santos, who has this awesome business that came out of it, or project, and it's now a business called I forget what he calls it exactly, but if you go around the island, you'll see these wooden puzzles, cutout puzzles of canoes, birds, crabs, different things that you can find around Guam and these islands. And he has really grown, and you see it in a lot of stores now. I know Rexall holds it. The Guam Museum has a lot of these businesses that started out from the gift incubation program. Okay, I'm going to go continue with this. One of Guam's most important and unique features is our culture, more specifically our people. Y Costumbran Chamorro, or close-knit families, and the ways we celebrate our culture and each other are key to the Guam experience. Whether it's the full fiesta table spread, the bailan batsu, or the way we amen our manamko, there's so much more to Guam other than the expensive hotels and stores of Tumon. While the sandy shores of Ipao and Matapang are the picturesque postcards that entice our tourists to visit, nothing can quite compare to visiting an Ugin Fiesta in Humatic or Terlahi Fiesta in Zotnia. Our local restaurants have done a fantastic job in whipping up Chamorro fusion cuisine, but Calaguin is just a little more pica at a Zotnia Fiesta, and the shrimp patties won't run you up $5 for 3 pieces. At a village fiesta, all are welcome. Everyone is invited, and the barbecue ribs, the golai agansuni, and the Calaguin banadu come free with Tan Ana's infectious smile as she reminds you not to forget your bolutan. And thankfully, this is the kind of unique local experience the Guam Visitors Bureau is bringing back for the industry with the relaunch of the Guam Island Fiesta Tour. Oh, I'm talking about something else then. I always do that.
That's okay.
But GVB and Gifter, anyways, is a different thing. That's what you get for putting me behind the mic. A chance to bring tourists to our villages and into the home of welcoming Chamorros during village fiestas. This rare look into the ways in which local families celebrate these time-honored traditions offer the adventurous visitor a different vacation experience, a direct connection to the culture through our most important industry ambassadors, the people. Putting our visitor industry on a fast track of economic recovery requires that we pull out all of the creative stops, and relaunch of the gift program is an exciting way to market the most unique aspects of Destination Guam. Theme parks and expensive attractions can't capture a true Chamorro culture experience, but a visit with a Chamorro family during a fiesta is sure to make a great memory. Kudos to GVB for relaunching an old-school spin for modern vacationers. When the gift program comes to your village, find a way to be part of a visitor's Guam memory. Oh.
And who is that addressed to?
I don't have no idea. This is funny. The theme park and expensive attractions can't capture a true Chamorro culture experience. But I got to say, that theme park down there in the village of the Lati is pretty good.
Right, but
I think
that was a snide slap at the one that's planned for EPOW.
Yeah, absolutely.
The government's own.
Or even the planned pseudo theme park that's happening on the cliffside there by Two Lovers Point, or down that had the controversy of building the hotel right up on the cliff line.
Or that theme park would be a private investment. So
still,
they can. They can appropriate the culture any way they want, as long as they're dropping the cash for it, right, on their own land.
You would think. But, so I talked a little bit about it yesterday, and I want to read a little bit of it because I think it would be interesting if they could incorporate some other of the tourist cultures to attract some of these other people to Guam. And we're going to talk about this mint chocolate thing that I brought up a little bit yesterday that's coming out of South Korea. I read the article and I was like, this is incredible.
Well, I'm hoping that this will replace pumpkin spice in the consciousness of consumers everywhere.
Pumpkin spice definitely consumes the marketing arena, and it's amazing.
And what's this?
This one is mint chocolate.
It's not a marketing idea.
It's not. Well, it is, but this is different though, because I think pumpkin spice was forced upon us.
Improved.
But yeah. So this is an article about Let's just read it out of Seoul, Korea. Kang Sung-young's fondness for mint chocolate started innocently enough with a few nibbles of ice cream. And that's where I know mint chocolate. And then
soul food.
There's what's that little Andes candies we all know? The little mint chocolate, or the mint chocolate you get on your pillow if you go to a hotel. You're not familiar with Andes candy? Andes. It's a little green foil candy.
Andes candies?
I think it's called Andes. Anyways, Kang Sung-on's fondness for mint chocolate started innocently enough with a few nibbles of ice cream. Now Mr. Kang moisturizes his hands with mint chocolate-scented lotion. He starts and ends his days gulping down a mint chocolate protein shake. He's had mint chocolate-flavored takes on fried chicken, liqueur at a sandwich, oozing with a teal-colored cream.
It's the next pumpkin spice.
I hope not. When it comes to mint chocolate food, I like to try them out, wherever it may be, said Mr. Kang, a 33-year-old who works in the security sector in Seoul. I usually like them, too. South Korea is drowning in mint chocolate, creating a gooey divide in a country unusually fond of fresh flavors. Beyond desserts, mint chocolate is getting piled onto burgers, stirred into rice cakes, and stuffed into steamed buns. Diehards can lather themselves with mint chocolate soap or brush their teeth with mint chocolate toothpaste. Fast food chain KFC, otherwise known as Kentucky Fried Chicken, with local delivery app Baidal Binjuk, recently ran a month-long promotion offering a mint chocolate dipping sauce for its fried chicken. Unconventional food pairings of all sorts have been given heartburn to diners worldwide, but South Koreans can be especially game to try new flavors and food combinations, which are often discussed first in online communities, flagged by celebrities, and then spread across social media, said Park Sung-hee of the Korea Trend Research Institute. Global fast food brands in South Korea have tested menu items such as honey butter soybean powder seasoning for French fries at McDonald's, and Shake Shack's burger featuring fried chicken marinated in gochujang hot chili sauce. Burger King said that out of all the market it operates in, it develops the largest number of new menu items for South Korea. The chain chose the country to unveil special versions of its multi-patty stacker Whopper, including one featuring Guinness beer-flavored sauce. That's I'm game to. That makes sense.
That's my vote.
And I've actually done that in restaurants before, but that's for steaks and anyways. And another with peanut butter sauce. That makes sense too. Try it with chicken. You've had it on those little skewer sticks before, like the Thai chicken satays, I think they call it. Anyways, that's not bad. But we're talking mint chocolate here. South Korean consumers tend to be curious about new tastes, said Kim Jong, who heads marketing at South Korea's SPC group for the country's chain of Baskin-Robbins stores. Isn't this amazing? All these food stores we're talking about are all U.S.-based companies. Well, even Shake Shack. I'm surprised it's over there.
There's a lot of people making money in that country.
Uh-huh. Baskin-Robbins, the ice cream brand, recently had sweet corn as a special flavor of the month. When it comes to mint chocolate dishes, not everyone is green with envy. I don't agree with the current hype, said Jong Min-kyu, a 30-year-old freelance translator in Seoul. It reminds me of toothpaste. Finally, somebody with some sense. The flavor's proliferation has celebrities and other notable figures taking sides. South Korea's president, Yoon Suk-yeol, confessed to being a mint chocolate fan on social media before taking office in May. He still enjoys mint chocolate, his office said in a written statement. Thank God.
I was hoping that
That's good to know.
I was hoping they were going to put it in a missile and fire it over North Korea.
See, now, no, because South Korea does not have a good track record with missiles. Apparently, the one they tested yesterday,
they should have put the mints inside.
Mint chocolate? Yeah. Okay. South Korea's most I'm almost done. South Korea's most impassioned fans have banded together in a team mint chocolate group whose Instagram page counts roughly 26,000 followers online. That's pretty low, actually. The group is run by WithGo, a Seoul food-based brand that sells mint chocolate-themed T-shirts, posters, protein balls, soap, and hand cream on its website, among other items. The group plans to soon hold its first off-light event, a mint chocolate festival, and has cast its loyalists as outsiders. A question the group frequently gets asked from aspiring members is, "Am I weird for liking mint chocolate?" said Yoon Soo-mi, a WithGo product manager. Quote, "We're letting the world know that there are lots of us who enjoy mint chocolate," she said. She didn't answer the question, though. I'd say
they are letting the world know. We're talking about it.
I'd say yes. You are weird. Kim Min-chae, a 32-year-old designer living in the city of Daejeon, supports Team Mint Chocolate. She regularly purchases their mint chocolate milk, protein balls, and owns team badges as well as stickers that now decorate the back of her iPad. Okay, let's move on to this one. This is interesting.
Is it the kimchi flavored?
Not yet. Kim Sok-jun is a fan of mint chocolate sweets, but he was less fond of KFC's mint chocolate dipping sauce, which he tried with a few colleagues shortly after the promotion started in July. The 34-year-old editor at Seoul-based magazine polished off the chicken, but left the teal sauce all but untouched. The group's collective verdict: the flavor was like brushing your teeth while eating chicken. I don't have high expectations going in, and upon trying it, alas, it tasted bad, said Mr. Kim. This is the best one. Despite enjoying mint chocolate in shakes and ice drinks, 26-year-old Nam King-yeon found the combo with chicken a challenge to his taste buds. Quote, "I wasn't sure if this should be allowed," he said. In other options, the country's ubiquitous rice liquor, soju, now has mint chocolate version, a typically bright red plate of spicy red cakes known as tteokbokki is a shade of turquoise in its mint chocolate transformation. A hamburger brand offered a limited edition burger stuffed with mint chocolate sauce and Oreos in a special event. Cho Hong-young, a 35-year-old medical industry worker in Incheon, enjoys a variety of mint chocolate treats, including protein shakes, buns, and sweet rice cakes, and she also washes her hands with teal-colored soap scented with mint chocolate. It's not just a little thing. It's like engulfed the entire country. I mean, you can find a niche for some things, right? And we've kind of found a niche with pumpkin spice and many things, but I don't think you find pumpkin spices as many things here on Guam or the States like they do with mint chocolate. If you want to bring South Koreans here, put mint chocolate Kelaguen on the menu at these gift fiestas. That's my opinion. I'm not going to be invited.
It just makes me think about the BTS and the export of successful cultural creations out of Korea, and it's success. Nothing beats success, right? So
apparently, various members of the boy band BTS have professed their like or dislike for mint chocolate, and according to the group's management firm, they confirmed that 3 enjoy the flavor while 4 aren't fans. They didn't reveal which ones, but BTS was a part of this article because they are the shining stars of South Korea and worldwide now.
That's right, and they're going, and because of that mention, there will be an impact in other markets.
There will be. 3 out of 4 BTS fan members recommend mint chocolate.
Enough folks are going to try it now.
So that was an interesting thing. You can't. I think South Korea has overtaken Japan on some weird levels of things. Japan's I don't know. Japan's still in the running. They do a lot of cool weird things that kind of pique people's interest.
But they don't grow legs like BTS.
Well, yeah, that's true. J-pop was pretty big before K-pop, but BTS has stormed the world, and I don't even listen to them. I don't even know what they play. I don't know that they're big out there. They're big with the kids.
They sell.
They sell.
It's a bigger market than the stuff that I like.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if anybody is
biting. No, because they want dark chocolate mint.
They want dark. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I used to remember this one older guy. I say older. He was an adult guy from church one time back in the States, and I was eating toffee covered chocolate, and he used to say, most of us real chocolate aficionados think that mint does not belong in chocolate at all. So when we see mint chocolate, that's not a real chocolate lover there. And there's some clear lines drawn, but
you just say, yeah, more for
I
me.
don't think that guy will ever go to South Korea now. I can guarantee it. Let's go to the card. Okay, from the card today, we have PETA, P-E-T-A, versus Rams, and that's actually a Law and Order moment, because that's a Jonathan Turley article. Not yet. Hold your horses. We'll get to that. I can see Daryl hovering over the button there, but we'll be there soon. We have, I can't pronounce the name of this group. I'll just say Chamorro Speakers versus Life. We have Gita and GMH versus Goalposts. We do have a Second Amendment article today. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. We have a couple leftovers from this week. Joe Biden's Eagle versus the law. A little thing on Stacey Abrams here. And then the FBI versus innocent, helpless humans. Let's go to the bottom of the hour break, and then we'll come back with the card right after we return. You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. My name is Jose. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Joyce Broadcasting introduces their unbeatable lineup of morning shows.
Hands down winners of Guam's morning radio battle.
Daryl Lizama grooves his way through Boss 104 playing Guam's favorite classic hits.
Morning Mouth Ray Gibson shakes the cage on 93.3 The Point.
And now, we are proud to announce the Morning Blender with Kyle Mandapat, mixing it up at sunrise on Star 101.
If you're an advertiser trying to reach the most valuable ears, we've got the shows that listeners have been tuning into for decades.
One call gets all three.
671-888-7346. That's 888-REIO.
Tell me about it, stud.
Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Festival is back on Saturday, October 22nd. We rockin' and rollin' at the Dusatani Guam Resort from 2 to 10 p.m. Bring your friends and come dressed in your best grease costume to win up to $500 in cash and prizes. So bust out those leather jackets and 50-style outfits as we party the night away at Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Fest. Don't be a square. Get your tickets now at craftbeerfestguam.com or cruise on by any 76 Circle K location. Now that's cool, baby.
Welcome back to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, Guam's single voice of reason. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
And we are back. Tall Tales with Jose Martinez this week. And for the next 2.5 weeks, we'll see Bob back one of the last weeks of October. Daryl's in the booth today. I know you guys all went out and got your mint chocolate shakes. You know what is really big, though, in here in the States? I don't know about Guam so much. Is the Shamrock mint shakes during St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's month, the month of February. I don't understand that. They're okay, but, you know, it does taste like toothpaste.
Because it's green?
Probably. You know, it's one of those things that limited time only. Get it while it's here. And everyone's like, I got to get it while it's here. And then they have it, and they're like, I don't know why I got it because I don't remember it being this good. It never was this good, and they tricked me again.
You know, that's
how I feel.
I think I'm projecting self-correcting behavior. You know.
Yeah, I fall for it. I got it again this year, and then I remembered why I didn't get it again. But you know, some people like it. I don't know there's too many Irish people here on Guam to justify Shamrock Shake.
I can think of other things to get.
But I do got to tell you, and these aren't our sponsors. I did, because I was given permission that I could get it today. There is a taro frosty at Wendy's. That's a good flavor. That's a good one. I suggest people get it. And yes, I sometimes dunk my fries in my frosty. It's a thing. Tastes really good. Should we move on?
Is this confession time?
It is. Let's talk food. That's my other love. Excuse me real quick. Okay, so on the card here, I want to talk first, Paul Zerzan and systemic racism. We all know what that's about. The rice is red or the rice is orange, depending on what narrative you find fits your role. We all know that the rice is orange factually, but red if you are woke. Red if you're woke. I like that. Only going to be red if you're woke. There's a... So, I can't pronounce the name of this group. Manyetlon? Is that how you say it? Manyetlon Marianas wanted to host a forum with the two gubernatorial candidates, and they didn't get any feedback or hear back from the Camacho Ada campaign, unfortunately, and so they wrote a letter to the editor for the Post. I would say that they probably got prompted, but that's just me.
I thought I'd heard in a news story that there were 3 events that had been scheduled.
Oh, there's 3 events, but only one wrote a letter to the editor.
Right, but 3 have
We'll get
not...
to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Okay, good.
Hold your horses.
Hey.
Don't be pushing those buttons.
Got horses,
Okay, slow it down. Silent leaders, silent voices. With that, you would have thought that the rest of the letter was going to be short and sweet, but it's pretty verbose. Pretty verbose for someone who claims to be silenced. Anyways, I digress. With election season ongoing, the gubernatorial candidates are holding rallies and participating in forums, debates, and even podcasts to discuss the issues that are important to them. In anticipation of Election Day, the University of Guam Manyetlon Marianas Student Organization had planned to hold a gubernatorial Chamorro debate which focused on Chamorro issues and invited the gubernatorial candidates to communicate in the Chamorro language. Now, I have no say in this game because I really don't know that much about the language and all this other stuff about the written language. But from what I understand, here on Guam, we're the only Chamorros that capitalize the C and the H in red in Chamorro. I find that interesting. It only started happening a couple of years ago, right? Did they pass a law or they just passed an announcement? Everybody must change to capital C, capital H.
It might be one of those...
Can they pass a law in language?
One of those authorized...
Just do
created bureaus that then has the regulatory power delegated from the legislature to declare the orthography and spelling. Yeah.
Orthography, that's what it is. I remember I don't recall her name, but the gubernatorial candidate up in Saipan, when she was pressed on the matter, she's like, I don't know, we spell a capital C, little h.
And they speak it more, too.
Yeah, they do.
Even though there's fewer of them.
But, yeah.
They speak it more.
So anyways, let's go back to this. That I can't really say anything on that because I don't speak the language. I wish I could. Because Manyetlon Marianas aims to practice, promote, and share the Chamorro culture and language, as well as provide avenues for engaging in and advancing productive discussions and actions relevant to issues of concern to the indigenous people of Mariana Islands and those who choose to make this island their home, this debate would have served as an opportunity to respond to our concern that will impact not only us, but the general public. That paragraph is one sentence, Daryl.
Don't blame me.
Remember, it's called Silent Leaders, Silence Voters.
Yeah.
The gubernatorial debate would have posed questions related to issues such as political decolonization, Chamorro language and cultural revitalization, sustainability, and the military buildup. Originally planned for October 14th, the Camacho Ada campaign declined our letter of invitation, with a seemingly uninterested and vague reply. Thank you for the invitation to participate in your event. We regret to inform you that former Governor Felix Camacho and Senator Tony Ada will be unable to attend. The campaign wishes you the very best in supporting the education needs of the community during this 2022 general election cycle. That's my take on the campaign voice.
I'm waiting for the
Leon Guerrero Tenorio campaign.
Bottom line here.
The Leon Guerrero Tenorio campaign accepted our invitation. In an effort to, I'm not going to do the campaign voice though because I don't screech that well. In an effort to garner Camacho Ada's participation, Manyatlon Marianas offered another date for the debate, October 21st. The Leon Guerrero Tenorio campaign again accepted the new invitation, but the Camacho Ada just copied. They must have meant Camacho Ada campaign. Just copied and pasted the same message from their last email. Thank you for the invitation to participate in your event. We regret to inform you that the former Governor Felix Camacho and Senator Tony Ada will be unable to attend.
Same staffer.
The campaign wishes you the very best in supporting the education needs of the community during this 2022 general election cycle.
Stamped, signed.
It is unfortunate that the Camacho Ada campaign was unable to participate in this event, as these issues are important to us as students, as voters, as residents of Guahan, and overall as Chamorros. Where else will we get a deeper understanding of how each campaign will deal with these issues if they were to take office? Only there. This is where the violins come in. As the youth of this island, we wanted to host a debate for our peers and the public to gauge where each of the gubernatorial candidates stood with respect to these particular issues. Manyatlon Marianas is greatly disappointed to know that former Governor Felix Camacho and Senator Tony Ada, the potential governor and lieutenant governor of our island, respectively, denied us students and the greater community of Guahan the opportunity to see what their perspectives are on Chamorro issues, not once, but twice. As the indigenous people of the Marianas and the largest ethnic group in Guahan, these issues are significant because the pillars of our culture and identity are at risk. Whew. There's a lot writing on this forum, huh?
That's right.
The pillars of our culture and identity are at risk. How can our language and culture thrive if our leaders are not willing to speak on these issues? How can we ensure that these issues are being prioritized? We must hold our leaders accountable since they will lead the way for the next era of Guahan history. We deserve leaders who will embody the Inferency Guahan Pledge written by the late Bernadita Camacho Dunca, which states, Hu ofrencen maisa zupara bahu putehi, Jan hu defiende y henegi y kotora y leguaji y ari y hanon Jan y tano Chamorro.
You're not Bob Klitzkie.
No. I'm sorry for butchering that, people. I really am. But I had to read that whole thing because people know the Inferency. This translates to, I offer myself to protect and to defend the beliefs, the culture, the language, the air, the water, and the land of the Chamorro. Manyatlon Marianas wanted to host this debate to perpetuate our culture as well as hear the campaign stances on issues directly related to the Inferency. How can we expect our potential leaders to protect and defend our culture where they refuse the opportunity to speak about them? And I'm not going to read the rest of it because I cannot. Not
I'd like
I
to
don't
know.
want to.
Who
I can't.
signed it? Who signed it?
It's in the post. It's that group. But the okay.
No, but who wrote the letter?
Hold on. Hold your horses. You want to ask one more time?
Oh, I thought you had it in front of you.
Chante Kitsutu. Shante Kitsutu, Joseph, St. Nicholas, Kaylee Cabales. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. Isabella Olalia, and they're the officers of Manyatlon Marianas. The last sentence in this letter: if our leaders are silent, then we are silenced. Okay, enough of that.
A moment of silence.
Okay, I understand that you're disappointed that they decided not to join this this forum. But everything after the reply from the Camacho Ada campaign is just pure projection. It's incredible that they gleaned all of that out of them not being able to participate. We don't know the reason why they didn't participate. All we know is that they decided not to, or they could not at the time. Now, I'm just focusing on this letter right now. I suggest that you start focusing on disappointments in life and not write letters like this right away to the editor of a newspaper, because I don't have a lot of hope for leadership in a group that writes this kind of letter because somebody decided not to show up to an event. I don't care how important you think you are, but all you had to do is say they decided and they declined, and this is what we wish to ask for. But they put on a little bit of a dramatic display here of the world is falling and going to fall apart if they don't listen to me type thing. And I know I'm being a little bit critical here because I am going to be critical of the Camacho Ada campaign, who ought to know that there is a campaign going on for a governor's race that a lot of people are very interested in, and we have not heard from them at all either. Now, they do a podcast, but not everybody has access to this type of recordings. And there are ads in papers, but we do need to hear from these.
And there are ads even on this station.
Yeah, but I do have to say, I have seen lots of pictures and videos of this team canvassing the villages. They have gone door to door. I've seen former First Lady Camacho going to doors and talking to people and knocking on doors. I'll give them that. But that's on the social media and connected to friends that I know and people that I know. But this has been one of the most quietest campaigns. And then for us to hear from the Leon Guerrero Tenoro campaign from a whiny press release that echoes the disappointment of all these people that the Camacho Ada campaign didn't want to attend or won't attend. That's not a campaign, people. Come on, let's talk about issues. If they don't want to talk face to face, go back and forth in writings of what you will stand for in your platforms. But a whiny press release after not hearing from the campaign for a long time is silly. And then Camacho Ada, the silence is deafening. It really is. And I really, really, really had high hopes, but I don't know right now. I don't know what's going on. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else, I'd love for you to call in and talk me off of this ledge, but I don't know what's going on right now. It just seems kind of, it seems like there is no election. I think it might be, we might have a...
Maybe they've got better polls than we do.
Thank you for the invitation to participate in your November election. We regret to inform you that former Governor Felix Camacho and Senator Tony Ada will be unable to attend.
It's just a staff-written letter.
You didn't hear me. Thank you for your invitation to participate in the November elections. I hope we don't get that, but it might as well sound like that. So 2 things. This letter, I understand your frustration. It wasn't necessary, and it kind of, to me, put a bad light on this group in the sense that, it handled disappointments a little better than it wasn't quite a temper tantrum. Wasn't quite to that level, but our culture and identity are at risk.
They could have written something up and made 5,000 copies and gone door to door and stuffed them on in screen doors and said, these guys turned us down. And what do you think of that? You're going to vote for them now?
What's even worse is that the Post wrote like a really huge article on it also, talking about the other groups that were ghosted. And there's probably a real reason why they were. I can kind of guess why they were. Didn't want to attend. One of them is from the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, who founded it and is still a active member of it. Governor Leon Guerrero.
Right, and if you can't walk into a hostile arena
No. Those are traps, and I know it seems altruistic to say it's a hostile arena, you should go in there. But no, we all know that it never bodes well for the hero. We all know we're watching the story, and the hero says, it's a trap, I know it's a trap. And they go, oh, let's go into it anyways, and it doesn't bode well. Ever does. So, no.
Is that in the movies?
Huh?
Is that in the movie?
Always in the movie. But there's reasons why they didn't. I can understand why, but at the same time, give us voters a good reason to understand. Don't let us speculate why you didn't go or why you're not going to go. Maybe talk about it on the next podcast. You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. If you're watching during the break on Facebook, the streaming on Facebook of this show, also on YouTube, you saw me wearing the I'm a Tailgater t-shirt right here. I can't see this. You could get that by going to thepoint.gu and clicking on the link. I think I'm going to order a couple more this weekend for myself because this one seems to be wearing out. It's had a couple of washes already, more than a couple. Go to thepoint.gu, look for this shirt with this beard, and there is a link behind that link, and it'll get you to the order site. Right now, we're only selling it in the color black, but there are various sizes. Take a picture of it because at that big halftime show, we're going to be showing the Rogues Galley. All those who have bought their T-shirts had taken a selfie or a group photo, and then we'll play that. You can also send that picture or selfie to the Points WhatsApp at 671-797-8255. Let's go to a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more Tall Tales after this.
We're already Pika's best radio station, but we're always looking for ways to be even better.
Announcing the point on Alexa.
In addition to our FM and HD radio feeds, our incredible app, informative website, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, you can now tell Alexa to stream The Point. And your smart speaker will start playing whatever we're saying. News and views 24/7 with your 4-word command. Alexa, stream The Point.
Attention all passengers. This is your pre-boarding announcement for flight UOG EF40, scheduled for departure on Saturday, October 8th for our gala destination at the Dusatani Guam Resort. Passenger check-in time is 5 p.m. Your onboard entertainment will be a reunion of the casuals with Jesse and Ruby. For ticketing information, please call our agents at 671-735-2957. We thank you for choosing to fly with the UOG Endowment Foundation. Enjoy your flight with Tritons transforming the world.
And we are back. The name of this program is Tall Tales. The name of the station that this program is played on is The Point, KUSG 93.3 FM. We are in the running for a repeat of Pika's Best Radio Station 2022. Today you can vote online to GuamPDM.com, Pika's Best. I don't know what the last slash is, but look under services, best of, and our radio station, The Point, is there. I think it's number 1, the first one listed. Vote for us, then go back tomorrow, vote for us again, and then each day go back and vote for us all the way up to October 28th, where the last day of voting occurs. And then we can't wait to accept the honor of being Pika's Best for 2022 because of your votes. But don't forget, I have to say, Star 101 is also in the running, a sister station of ours here at Choice Studios, and Boss 104. All right, yeah, there we go. That's our Friday studio audience, who are not silenced because their leaders are silenced. Also, we can't forget the Best Radio Personality. We have 4 out of the 5 nominations through the Choice Broadcasting, Family Broadcasting stations. We have our own Ray Gibson here from The Point, Kyle Mandapat, who is on Star 101, and then from Boss 104, we have 2 radio personalities, Daryl Lazama and Albert Wan. No. That's Albert Juan, not Albert Juan Won. He hasn't won anything yet, but he can win if you vote for him, or Ray, or Daryl, or Kyle. You can vote for one of them, like alternate days if you want, so that we can have like a tie. I don't know if they do ties. If they have,
I have 2 ties.
Okay. I don't own it. I own ties, but I don't like wearing them. They seem kind of weird, just pieces of cloth flapping around my neck. It just doesn't seem safe. We have about 10 minutes left before the top of the hour, before the big Daryl showing me his ties. Thank you for keeping the rest of your shirt on, Daryl. So
the ties that bind.
Telling a little more about yourself. Let's read this. This just came out today in the Wall Street Journal about another gun law blocked by a federal judge. The New York gun law. A federal judge on Thursday temporarily halted enforcement of major parts of New York's new law that bars the carrying of concealed handguns in places the state deems sensitive. Excuse me real quick. The ruling is an early setback for a measure that New York Democratic lawmakers passed in response to a blockbuster Supreme Court decision in June that struck down New York's long-standing handgun permitting regime. The new permitting system, the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, took effect September 1st. Under the law, concealed carry applicants no longer had to demonstrate a special need for self-protection, but they still had to show state licensing officers that they have good moral character to be entrusted with a weapon. Very interesting.
I wonder what position that is. How would you qualify to be a morals checker?
Yep. Let's have the government decide what a good moral character is. The law also came with a list of locations where possession of a firearm, rifle, or a shotgun is a felony crime regardless of permit status, such as restaurants, trains, buses, parks, theaters, stadiums, bars, in New York City's Times Square.
What about the owners? The guy behind the bar can't have a shotgun, huh?
Cannot. Without law enforcement, I didn't see any exception in there. Because some law enforcement, even when they're not on duty, are allowed to carry their firearm. They're issued firearms.
Right, because they're never off duty.
Mm-hmm. In a 53-page ruling, U.S. District Judge Glenn T. Sotheby of Syracuse said lawyers representing New York failed to show how the law, including many of its licensing standards and gun-free designations, was consistent with how firearms were regulated in the 18th and 19th centuries. He said that unless a higher court intervenes on appeal, his ruling suspending enforcement would go into effect in 3 days. Judge Sotheby, an appointee of President George W. Bush, said he found little or no historical precedent for banning law-abiding citizens from carrying concealed weapons in a wide range of locations designated by the state. He also blocked another provision that barred guns from privately owned buildings and property without the express permission of the owners. That makes sense. The judge left standing gun bans at public assemblies, places of worship, government buildings, courthouses, and schools. Elsewhere in the ruling, Judge Sotheby said the state requirement that gun owners demonstrate good moral character was too burdensome and gave licensing officers too much subjective leeway to deny permits. The judge said applicants shouldn't bear the burden of proving their moral fitness, but should be approved unless a licensing officer finds them likely to be a danger to themselves or others. That's still questioning the licensing officer is qualified to do that?
Well, you'd have to have some standards, like felony conviction, or like you've been hauled in for beating your wife 4 times, and they don't want you to go have a
the
gun
third time we'll let slide. The fourth time, absolutely not.
Then he buys a gun.
The judge also stopped New York from requiring an in-person interview with licensing officers. He halted the required disclosure of applicants' former and current social media accounts and the names of other adults living in their homes. Wow, that's a huge invasion. Wow, that's crazy. I would have shut that down if I was a judge. Just 'cause.
It's a good ruling.
Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul on Thursday said New York's law was carefully crafted to put in place common sense restrictions around concealed carry permits and called the judge's ruling deeply disappointing. The judge is actually reflecting the Second Amendment here.
They obviously don't listen to tall tales.
Absolutely not. And we are broadcasting in New York by way of Facebook and YouTube. You're on notice, New York. Gun Owners of America, a Second Amendment advocacy group, had filed a lawsuit challenging the New York law on behalf of several of its members. We are grateful to Judge Sotheby for his quick action to restore the right of the people to keep and bear arms, said Eric Pratt, Senior Vice President for the group. Thursday's decision is the latest to build from the expansion of gun rights announced in the Supreme Court's June ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. The High Court's conservative majority in that case said New York's previous restrictions, which denied law-abiding residents the ability to carry a concealed weapon unless they could show a special need for self-protection, violated the Second Amendment. In doing so, the court instructed judges to apply a historical test to evaluate gun restrictions, a standard that can make it more difficult to defend certain types of gun regulations. And that's another win for the Second Amendment. Again, and I keep repeating this over and over, if they really want to ban guns, then get rid of the Second Amendment. But there is no fortitude to do that. There is no courage to do that. There's no political gumption to do that. And it's basically political suicide to do that. But keep doing these gun measures that keep getting shut down by the judges. And
why are you looking at me?
Because I can't. Okay, I'll look over here. I'm looking at you because you're a person. You're a body. I'm not blaming you for.
Like I'm doing it or something, you know.
I'm not blaming you for New York.
Okay. Go ahead. I was born in New York.
I will blame you. Okay, I will blame you for New York then. What parts of New York were you born?
I was only born in one part.
Where?
Buffalo.
Where forth were you born? Oh, okay.
Yeah, my father had returned to college after his military service.
Did you see those buffaloes that have wings?
I was wondering about that.
You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM, where we just learned that Daryl was born in New York, in Buffalo, New York. You know,
and there were no chocolate mint sauces for the buffalo wings.
For the buffalo wings.
Even since the time they started.
I don't think there's a big Korean population there. There is a huge Filipino population, so you might get something sweet over there with their savory stuff. I'm not sure.
I live on Guam because I'm from Buffalo.
Yeah, it is very cold out there. And we're going to probably hear another. New York is crazily balanced between mostly on the liberal side, left side, but they do have a couple of people who are right-minded or constitutionally minded. So
mostly in Buffalo.
You're going to see back and forth on this. It is not over yet. There's going to be another regulation that comes out. Okay, we're going to go to the big halftime show and also display our I'm a Tailgater Tall Tales Rogues Gallery.
But not on the radio.
Not on the radio. You'll hear the band. You'll hear the musicians. You'll hear some of the fireworks, the drums. But if you want to view the Rogues Gallery, the visual part of the big halftime show, you have to go to Facebook and follow the stream on our Point Facebook page or go to youtube.com. Search for Tall Tales Guam, and you'll find it there. The big halftime show coming up. This is Tall Tales on KUSG 93.3 FM. It is 4:59. Don't go away. We'll be back for more Tall Tales.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Echoes of the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Biden says the threat of nuclear Armageddon now is the highest it's been since the 1962 standoff between the U.S. and Russia over Russian missile sites in Cuba. The president telling a Democrat Party fundraiser in New York Thursday night, Russia's President Putin isn't kidding when he threatens to use tactical nuclear weapons in his invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the International Atomic Energy Agency says it is monitoring round the clock and inspections at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine that's been hit by Russian shelling. IAEA Director Rafael Grossi.
Everybody agrees on one thing: a nuclear accident must be prevented by all means.
Grossi says all of the reactors at the plant have been safely shut down, but they must be restarted over the winter to prevent them from freezing. President Biden has signed a sweeping pardon wiping away federal marijuana convictions for 6,500 people.
The pardon from President Biden covers all previous federal convictions of simple possession of marijuana. In a statement, the president says no one should be in jail for just using or possessing marijuana, noting federal convictions could mean Americans are denied employment, housing, and educational opportunities. President Biden is urging governors to do the same with state possession convictions. Many states have already decriminalized or legalized marijuana use. The president is directing the Attorney General and Secretary of Health and Human Services to review how marijuana is classified under federal law.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Two sources close to the investigation have told Fox News that federal investigators believe they've gathered enough evidence for federal tax charges to be filed against Hunter Biden. The case now in the hands of the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. America is listening to Fox News.
Gas is expensive, so let the bank come to you. Through our remote deposit capture, you can deposit your checks into your account from your phone. And with our Dynamite Bank Pacific Visa debit card, you can use your money anytime, anywhere. It's the perfect combo.
Now we're banking on the future. Services to choose. Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal housing lender. Member FDIC. Crank it up.
Half a day. This is Clara Manglona from Security Title. A power of attorney can be a useful tool in a real estate transaction, but if abused, it can result in devastating loss. Choosing your representative should be done with the utmost care and should be very specific about the powers being granted. To mitigate loss, the team at Security Title confirms with the owner prior to using a power of attorney to sell the property. Each transaction is unique. Let the professionals at Security Title use our experience to facilitate a secure closing. We are here to help.
There's been a guilty plea from one of the defendants facing the most serious of charges from last year's incursion at the U.S. Capitol.
North Carolina's Proud Boys leader Jeremy Bertino has pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy in connection with the attack on the Capitol January 6th. He also pleaded guilty to unlawful possession of a firearm. While 5 other Proud Boys members have been charged with seditious conspiracy and face trial in December, he's the first group member to plead, though some Oath Keeper members have pleaded to this charge already as well. Bertino testified to the January 6th committee that after then President Trump said during a debate when asked about white supremacist group activity to stand back and stand by, their group had several more members wanting to join. Federal prosecutors indicate if Bertino cooperates with them ahead of the December trial, they may seek leniency in his sentencing. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A week after Hurricane Ian struck Florida's southwest coast, despair is setting in. The medical examiner says 2 men in their 70s took their own lives after losing everything. Pine Island resident Joe Kushko says he understands.
North Carolina's Proud Boys leader.
Every time I hear the wind blow and a piece of aluminum shift, yeah. And it's kind of like PTSD.
40 people were rescued from one of the barrier islands yesterday. An infamous amusement ride in Orlando is coming down.
The 400-foot-tall Orlando Freefall Drop Tower at Icon Park has been closed since March following the tragic death of 14-year-old Tyrese Sampson. Thursday, the owner of the Orlando Slingshot announced the ride will be dismantled and a scholarship will be created in the teen's name. An autopsy showed Sampson weighed 383 pounds when he died, well above the ride manual's weight limit of 287 pounds. He appears to have slipped out of his harness and plunged to his death. His family has filed a lawsuit claiming there was negligence.
Fox's Tom Graham, and I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's best 5 years running. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus tenactac, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet hamburgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tumon location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
Siduos Maasi Guam for 40 amazing years of support for the UOG Endowment Foundation. Through your generous contributions, we have been able to award many student scholarships, help fund college programs, and facilitate capital improvement projects at the University of Guam. As we celebrate this milestone occasion, we look forward to your continued partnership and many more years of collaboration with our island community. Viva UOG Endowment Foundation.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
The big halftime show here on Tall Tales. And if you're viewing the program on the streams, the live streams on Facebook or YouTube, you saw the Rogues Gallery. And I think I timed that one just right. The end of the show, the end of it was the end of the Rogues Gallery. You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. And we have a very special person in the green room right now. Miss Bonnie Suba, good evening. How are you?
Hey, Jose, I'm doing all right.
All right.
Am I loud enough?
You're loud enough. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of far away.
How about right now?
Guam.
Right.
I'm overseas. But I wanted to just put in my 2 cents on what you're talking about, first of all, with the silent election or the campaign. The person that wrote that letter, or, I mean, if you really read into it and the language, the Chamorro words that they're using, they're only speaking about the land and the culture. They're not talking about having this debate because of the issues that are plaguing Guam. They're not talking about the real education issues, the schools shutting down and all this stuff. And it sounds more or less like it's more like a, you know, like a protest that they want a smear campaign thing back and forth on who's going to protect the island from, you know, the military or the build-up and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, it's kind of comes a pretty late in the campaign trail, especially when nobody's campaigning, as far as what you guys are saying. And that applies out here as well, because I feel there's something bigger that's going on. So if you look about the bigger picture, I believe that the governor went to the governor's meeting or something with the president and all that, and recently returned and is silent about that trip. Makes you wonder why. And at the same time, then you have Biden coming out with all these little innuendos, where today he said we were at Armageddon, just like we were with the Cuban missile thing with Kennedy. he's comparing that because that includes Russia. And so he's putting that statement out a couple days after Harris makes a statement that the United States is in line with North Korea. And when she makes that statement, and she even says that there are allies, people will say, oh, it's a slip of the tongue, she's confused. No, it could be, but then again, it could not be, because then after she leaves, you notice that Korea fires off these missiles over Japan. So what's happening is, the scary part that I'm speculating is if there isn't an election, because if there's a war, if they declare war, then there won't be an election, because you can't make an election during a wartime. So
interesting.
I don't know if that's what the scheme of things are going on, because it's going back and forth. But as far as the issue with that, I think that's why everybody's sort of like standing their ground and waiting for the next marching orders. That's what, to me, it seems like. The other thing is I heard she declared a state of emergency again, all the way to November 5th.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't that kind of strange? Why November 5th when isn't the election on the 8th?
Yeah,
So it makes me like, why is that? What's that significance of that day? Because if that's the case, and
The election's on the
I mean,
11th,
Biden,
right? The second Tuesday of the month of November.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at October.
I'm just gonna go vote.
So it's the 8th, correct?
This the 8th. Yes, it is.
Yeah, but she extends the thing till the 5th. Makes me wonder why. Why are you going to do that? And then the other issue is you were talking about the gun thing. So they're trying to pass that bill for the Second Amendment, which is, my question is, who's going to determine moral character?
Exactly.
When our freaking leaders can't even decide what a woman is. And nor can they determine that a fetus that has a heartbeat is a human being.
Nor can our president spell moral.
Correct. You're right. So what it seems to me is they want to disarm everybody, because remember, you won't be able to control the citizens if they can't fight back against a tyrannical government. Now, people will say, oh, she really lost her mind. She's such a conspiracy theorist. Call me what you want, but I've been doing all the research, and I've been, I do the daily events. I even check the D.C.'s briefing reports that come out for Biden. And these things, people aren't being told exactly what's going on. The media is being paid to silence everybody and not put out the real news that's going on. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was yesterday you were talking about the First Amendment and about the freedom of speech. And if you read you read it on the air yesterday. The First Amendment says, you shall make no laws regarding the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for readdress, okay? So, readdress grievances. The word abridging, the word abridging means you cannot omit, you cannot remove. If you look up the definition, it says no omittance, no removal, or no partial, I forget what the word was, but in other words, what they're doing with the censorship and all this stuff is they're violating the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. And even though, like, the argument was, yeah, you can't go into a theater and yell, the B word, you can't. Well, and I say that because, that's going to trigger the whoever's listening.
Don't melt the snowflakes.
Yeah, it's not snowing flakes yet. But anyway, so that's the whole thing about the First Amendment, that, people say that, I'm offended when you say that. Well, you still have the right to say something as long as it doesn't involve, harm. You're not physically harming anyone. Because if we're going to play with feelings, then heck, anything you say is going to hurt people's feelings every single day, every second. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep quiet?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that they're all talking about this race war, okay? The last time I checked, there was only one race, and that's the human race.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being black and white, those are ethnicities, I believe.
Well, you know, in line of what you're saying, there was another flag that went up then, I guess, when Kamala Harris was talking about compensation or help, financial help for those who have experienced damages from Hurricane Ian, where she started talking about the way that the funds were going to be distributed was through means of equity. And then she talked about racial equity and how people of color are affected more than other communities. And she was also corrected ultimately by, I can't remember his name, the director of FEMA or something. It said it's going to be based on need, not on historical, like, you know, not by artificial means like this whole thing of equity. She literally separated the word equality. There's equality and then there's equity. And the whole answer she gave was just bunk, but it goes along with everything that you've been gathering and you just talked about, Bonnie.
Right, and that's the whole thing is that, you know, something big is going on behind the scenes and people aren't being aware. They're not waking up, and we have to start. We have to do something because if they declare a war and they decide it's nuclear, do you really think that we'll survive? Nobody will survive.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's an atomic bomb like in Japan, you know, if they drop several of those, you know, and we have to remember back. I don't know if you remember this far back, but it's not very far. It's 9/11.
Yep.
Remember when 9/11 occurred?
I was in Connecticut at the time. Yeah.
George Bush came out with a statement, and so did his Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State. And they said that they were tracking a lot of cells that were already in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And these cells were both from China and from the Middle East. And the cells were what the group of people that when they get the call, then they go out and they do these things. You know, they do a mass knifing or whatever.
Look at our front page, Bonnie.
Bomber.
I don't know if you can watch it on Facebook. Front page of the Post talks about...
Well, I turned the phone off because it was
okay.
too loud. I don't want to bleed over.
Well, we have 9 suspected of arriving from Saipan from China, Chinese nationals. We're getting this daily. People are seeing them coming up on shore. And, you know, we had one caller before who I know he had good intentions and said maybe they're just here to get good jobs because they're skilled workers. And I'm like, no. I'm not going to give that benefit of a doubt because, number one, they're not coming in the right way. And two, with the relations going on between China and the U.S., we have to – I know it sounds really it's not on racial lines. It's on national lines. If it was racial, if we went door to door, but we're seeing these nationals come on shore, we have to be concerned. We ought to be concerned. And I'm glad that the governor now is doing something at the least, but we should have been watching a long time ago. Well, that's true because I saw the guy on Pacific Daily News when they had the program, the fishermen at the bay there, Pago Bay. Right.
I watched his interview on the PDN Live or whatever, and he said that he saw them and he put a marker over there so he saw them, and he doesn't know where they come from, and they don't speak English, and you know, and he's calling somebody to help him because he sees these boats coming in. And that's the thing that, you know, the governor, if they're saying that they don't have a federal immigration law, well, then get customs over there and let's get something done. But, you know, and get the military involved. I don't see why she's not calling on that either. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, there's a lot going on that a lot of people aren't thinking about, and it's kind of troubling that the elections everywhere are all silent right now, and yet November's just 30-some days away. Mm-hmm. So, and you've got Biden saying that they did the investigation and they found that the United States did the blowing up of that pipeline. So, you know,
again, you know, it's funny if the pandemic didn't happen 2 years ago, where the vast majority of people were actually very compliant to anything that the government told us to do, and and didn't want to sway or even want to be. There was a lot of people who protested as well, but the compliance with the government was overwhelming, and I think it almost felt like a test because a lot of conspiracies that came out turned out to be. I mean, I won't say 100% true, but they were moving towards that. I mean, things that were talked about early on about how this is a farce and this is not really true turned out to be so as far as the mandates go. We still have a mask mandate here on Guam, albeit it's at the clinics and pharmacies here all over Guam, and even in the government office. I was at the ITC building today, and if you walk into an office, whether or not it has anything to do with medical reasons, you still got to wear a mask in there. And it's amazing because these masks are just pieces of paper. I could probably walk in with a paper towel over my face and masking tape, and it'll be just as good as the mask they're distributing there in the offices.
But you're right, Jose. It was a what do you call it? A plan to see how many people will comply and how fast they can get compliance. After the mask, remember, then came the jabs. Mm-hmm. You know, and they're still pushing that. Biden's still saying that before a hurricane, make sure you get your jabs because that will save you. Well,
right.
Get real.
That was amazing.
The other thing that's scary that he mentioned also was the what do you call this? You were talking about it, and now I forget what he said. It was today too. Oh, when he was talking about the hurricane when he was at Florida, and he has this tendency to go back in his brain because of what I believe he is dementia, but he goes back into time and he says he tries to compare his life in Delaware with a storm to that of the devastation in Florida.
Right.
I mean, 2 whole cities were totally wiped off Florida's map.
Yeah.
And he's chuckling there on the side because it tells me that something else is happening here, and we need to wake up and realize it. And Guam needs to stop those people from coming in and start looking at their backgrounds and not releasing them into the public. I mean, look what's happening here now because they don't close the border. Mm-hmm. People are getting slaughtered on the streets. People are being shot at while they go to the ATM. Woman gets robbed while she's pushing her cart of groceries. And that's happening right here where I live too, in Vancouver, Washington. So, they're telling people don't go out at night because the crime's rampant, and then there's no police officers
in Washington.
Yeah.
Man,
because
I thought people were just
we're getting the overflow from Portland.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
I'm down on the border of Portland.
Behave yourselves, Portland. I don't know what's going on with that town.
I had enough of Portland, trust me.
Forget the Mexican border. You got to watch your border there on Oregon and Washington. Build a wall there. Just kidding. I have relatives in Portland. It's a nice city.
That, you can search this too on your free time if you have any.
Mm-hmm.
But there was last year, after the pandemic started, Trudeau opened up a Chinese army camp up on the border of Vancouver, BC, which is in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then they opened up one on the border of San Diego, and they opened up another one on the border of Ontario, the one next to New York City. And these are camps, and they're claiming the Chinese government is claiming that, it's for training purposes that we have these army soldiers.
In Canada?
Yes, on the borders for U.S. Look it up. You'll find it.
Well, my dad was in the Army, and we were stationed at Fort Drum at one time, upstate New York. And I don't know how it is in Washington. We were also stationed at Fort Lewis at one time. But in Fort Drum is near the border of Canada and New York and the States. And there were quite a number of Canadians who insisted that the buildup of Fort Drum, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, was specifically for the purpose of invading Canada. But I can see
yes.
I would that was a weird conspiracy because this has never happened. Because all we have to do is go over there, and the Canadians are so polite they'll just let us in. But they need the Chinese there.
But people forget that. They forget that these things were set up last year when everybody was on lockdown.
That's interesting.
They were moving real quick.
I did not know that the Chinese army was invited to Canada and they're doing training there. That's pretty good news. Okay.
Yeah, well, then they also have one in San Diego. or the border there for California and Mexico. But not only that, but you have all that thing going on. And then just recently, New York is offering to open up a Chinese police department and they're saying it's to monitor their citizens.
Huh.
They're Chinese citizens.
Right.
You
That's
know,
very interesting.
Talk about color me blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or fake news.
You might have to come out of retirement.
Huh?
You might have to come out of retirement, Bonnie.
Oh, trust me, I'm ready.
All right. Well, thank you for your call.
Well,
we have another.
Anyway, that's just my comments, and take it for what it's worth. But really look into it, and then see what's going on. But I just keep eyes on Guam too, because it's still my home, and my brother still lives there,
right?
And his family. So
very good. Well, I hope you're able to return one
so.
day and come visit us here at the Choice family of stations here, especially the Point. You have a home here as well, and it's always good to hear from you, Bonnie. I see you all the time online and commenting with everybody else, so that's really cool. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks.
You have a good evening.
You take care now.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. You're listening to KUSG 93.3 FM. This is Tall Tales on the Point. We have our Keith on the line. Don't go away. We're going to go to the 7th inning stretch, and then we'll come back to you to our Keith, who wants to talk about Wuhan, otherwise known as COVID. Don't go away.
Are you looking for a new place to hang out with your friends? Let's go along the sidelines at Sidelines Bar and Grill. Located at 154 Iriarty Road, Unit 4 and 5 in Tamuning behind Royal Bigs. Sidelines, a hidden gem with nothing but great things to offer. Great atmosphere, great food, top shelf drinks, and a great team. What are we waiting for? Let the fun begin at Sidelines Bar and Grill. Open daily from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. See you there.
Victim Advocates Reaching Out is celebrating its 40th anniversary by hosting its inaugural Purple Gala on October 15 at 6 p.m. in the Nico Hotel. Vero is a nonprofit that assists victims of domestic abuse, rape, and traumatic events. Proceeds from the event will benefit victim services like emergency shelter, food, clothing, and necessities. Tickets are $100 each. Call 477-5552 to purchase or make a donation. Special thank you to our generous supporters and the stations of Choice Broadcasting.
Seventh inning stretch, 2 more innings to go. You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. My name is Jose, and I am sporting my I'm a Tailgater t-shirt. You too can own your very own I'm a Tailgater t-shirt by going to www.thepoint.gu. Look up the link, the t-shirt with the beard, and you can get your own shirt. Take a picture, a selfie, a group picture. Send it to the Points WhatsApp at 671-797-8255, and you too can be a part of the Rogues Gallery. It's an infamous gallery of ruffians, Rogarians. Is that a word? I just made it a word.
Rogaine.
Rogaine. What are you trying to say there, Daryl?
You're the ones searching for the right word.
Why'd you have to bring up Rogaine? Just kidding. In the green room, we have our Keith, who has been patiently waiting to talk about Wuhan.
Hello, Jose.
Good afternoon. Very good. How's it going?
2 reasons for call. One, I do owe you a note.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I forgot the address.
Okay.
Maybe when we're done here.
This number that you have here on the screen, is this a cell phone number?
No.
Okay.
Not phone. Oh, yes, this is a cell phone number. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll text it to you then.
Okay, very good. And while I'm on, I guess and the reason that just sort of piqued my curiosity when the last caller had mentioned it, I was jetting around doing errands today. I'm still struck with a number of people who are wearing masks. I just don't understand it. The CDC itself, the lofty CDC that everyone bowed down to, as you noted earlier, itself came out and said that the little paper masks that everyone wears don't do anything. Which we all sort of knew, those of us that have functional cortex sort of figured out early on. So why are people still wearing them? Why are agencies still requiring them? It really is kabuki theater.
Well, you know what? You've been here in the islands for a while. You've seen our Japanese visitors and many visitors from Asia wearing the mask for a long time, and it's kind of a security blanket. It does work in some aspects, but in the sense that it might protect us from them more so than them from everybody around. But it is funny. What I find more curious is some of these government agencies that still require them in the offices. They still have the big, huge plexiglass shields up also. And I'm not exactly sure if that's the theater so that they can show everyone that they're complying or they agree with the governor's extended health emergency or not. But, not enough people are questioning it on Guam. And the biggest way to question it or to dispute it is in the voting booth. But I'm not sure that people even care anymore at this time. I think there's fatigue. I think people are so beat down from this extension of the health emergency, that nobody really cares anymore. It's almost like we're on repetition. What do you think?
I think you're right. There is definitely a beaten into submission aspect of all this. It's interesting. There's also, I recognize among the seniors, they've got health issues and they're concerned about it. Okay. It doesn't really do much, but if it makes you feel good, okay, fine. It's the younger folks that I'm a little surprised at. Can you read? I've also noticed something, and it's not just me. This has been proven by various polls and studies, and actually I finished a conversation with a friend who's from New York, that the mask adherence tends to have a political bent to it. That those who tend to lean a little to the left tend to be more mask adherent, even now, after all the dust has pretty much settled. A friend of mine went to New York, a couple weeks ago, and he's from upstate, and they flew into New York City. And the number of people, he said, there are still wearing masks was surprising. He lives in Hawaii. Then they drove up to New York, up to, mid-upper, north of Albany, so truly upstate. And good luck. Very few people. And there's most definitively a political gradient between New York and its environment in the state. And that's the same thing in Philly when I would go back for trips, which is where I'm from. Philly proper and the nearby burbs, very mask conscious. But you start driving out into the hinterland, not so much. It's curious. So you mentioned also that you were at Fort Frosty? Fort Drum?
Fort what?
Fort Frosty?
Is that what you call Fort Drum?
Oh, yeah, where the temperatures drop into the single digits.
My dad was stationed there just I think maybe a year or months right after it was changed from Camp Drum to Fort Drum. So I consider myself one of the pioneer families of upstate New York, military families.
Has that cured you of any desire to experience winter again?
Not there. We actually landed in snow. My dad said that he's being stationed in New York. We all, being ignorant little kids, thought it was New York City, and we're very excited. And the plane landed in snow, and I knew that we were not in New York City. I knew we're somewhere else. They do everything, whether there's 15-foot drifts or 20-foot drifts. Nothing closes down in snow there, except for during blizzards. Yeah, were you stationed up there?
No, but I went to school in New York, so
Okay.
I did a lot of, and as a geologist, we did trips all throughout that area, and I remember even when we would go up there in early fall. I'm talking September, early October.
Oh,
Upstate New York, even then.
that's
at
the real
night
upstate there,
was
Fort Drum. Yep. It's
Oh,
frigid up there.
that's funny.
Yeah, I love the people up there. Some of my best friends are still up there. My sister married her husband that she had dated for a long time from New York, and she still is in New York now. It's a great place to live, except for New York City. I would visit there, but I would never live there. It's just one of
not
those.
at gunpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss some of the food and some of the attractions of some of the East Coast cities, but they don't offer salaries high enough to get me to live in one.
But from what happened during, my sister lived in New York. She was not allowed to travel beyond the bordering states of New York, beyond Pennsylvania, beyond Connecticut, beyond Massachusetts. It was just one of their laws. I'm not sure how they determined that. Maybe somebody was looking at New York plates in other states and reporting them to the state. But it was kind of weird during the pandemic that they had that law going on. It also applied to airlines. I think you couldn't have make a ticket that took you anywhere beyond the bordering states of New York. That's a reason why I wouldn't go back to live there. That's another big reason. Yeah. But
it's a shame. The New York that I experienced in the 80s when I went to college was fun.
Yeah.
Now it's, well.
But what I do find interesting and ironic that, with those activists who want to be separated from the United States and talk about self-determination and independence, we seem to be less independent about our mobility here, especially during the pandemic, than the states did. Most of the people in the states were free to move about the cabin, and we had to remain in our belts and sit down and couldn't get up. That seatbelt line was on for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling, Keith. I'll send you that email. I'll text you the email, and always great to hear from you.
Excellent. Have a good weekend, both of you.
You too. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're listening to Tall Tales. It is 5:37. Let's get to. I want to get to the Lulian Guerrero video because I know that we play this every Friday, but we didn't get to play it last week. This is the video, and I'm gonna preempt it by reading you what she was testifying against. This was a bill that was actually initially supported by all the senators, but not all of them voted for it at the end. And I'm not exactly sure why some of them changed their votes after sponsoring or co-sponsoring the bill. But real quick, the Infant Child's Right to Life Act, the legislature findings and purpose. The legislature of Guam finds that all children, no matter their age, have a right to life. Guam has a paramount interest in protecting all human life. If an abortion results in the live birth of an infant, the infant is a legal person for all purposes under the laws of Guam. Guam must assert its interest in protecting an infant whose live birth occurred as a result of an abortion. Without proper legal protection, newly born infants who survive abortions could be denied proper life-saving or life-sustaining medical treatment and left to die. Accordingly, it is the purpose of this act to ensure the protection and promotion of the health and well-being of all infants born alive in Guam. Therefore, this act mandates that healthcare providers give medically appropriate and reasonable life-saving and life-sustaining medical care and treatment to all born alive infants. Keep that in mind while you listen to then private citizen Lulian Guerrero, and she's been a senator before, so I don't say private citizen as if she's removed from government. I'm sure she's involved some way at this time. 2013, testifying against this act.
This is not the route you want to travel. This bill is very anti-quality of life because it does not consider the expense that the family will incur as a result of mandating treatment that most likely will not result in a quality of life outcome for the infant. Instead, what this bill does is it will burden the family with enormous medical bills. On the conservative side, if care and treatment is given for a year, that family or the government, if the infant becomes a ward of the territory, will at a minimum pay $273,000 a year just on hospital room charges. This does not include pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and health professional time. So it will be $273,000 plus a year. This means taking away limited resources that could be used by others that may have a better chance of a quality of life. I know that some will say you cannot put a price tag on life and money should not be a factor. But the reality of the situation is the family, the government, does not have the human and economic resource to provide the care that is required to sustain a life that medical science will tell you is not living a quality of life. You struggle daily to meet the challenges of healthcare cost. We saw that with the hospital and health insurance debates that you guys made. And now this bill will further add on to the challenges when it does not have to.
Okay, I just want to pause there. We're going to go back to it because she ends with talking about what really is real issues other than the life of an infant there who is just born and giving it basic life-sustaining assistance. She said, I know that some will say that you cannot put a price tag on life and money should not be a factor, but that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what she did. She gave a price tag on life. She defined quality of life, not through anything else but the fact that we just don't want this infant because it's going to cost so much. And to me, that's horrific. But let's hear the rest of it because it is kind of ironic since she is the administrator of this island, the executive administrator of this island.
Lastly, I would like to make this comment. We all have a greater challenge in our island. The community is more concerned on how we can decrease our unemployment rate of 13.3%. We are very concerned on how we can work together to provide more jobs because our job growth has been stagnant over the last 5 years. We are very concerned about access to health care. We are very concerned that we are not screaming to the federal government to include us in the health insurance exchange so that we can have affordable health care to everyone. We are very concerned about how we can provide affordable housing to many first-time home owners. We are extremely concerned about the rising crimes we see today. People do not feel safe in their homes. Women are scared to go to the grocery stores alone because they fear that they could be robbed in the middle of the day. Employees do not feel safe in their work environment. Domestic violence is on the rise. Sexual assault of minors and rape cases are on the rise.
You don't say.
You have in your campaigns pledged to work on these issues. You were all voted to help address these concerns. The issues you ran on were why you are my senators. Most of the voters did not vote for you based on whether you are pro-choice or pro-life. Please, let's get back on track to the more compelling issues at hand that have a greater impact to the quality of life of our people. I ask that when you are considering this bill to seriously consider the negative consequences of this piece of legislation that I have just enumerated. Please talk to as many people as you feel is necessary. Talk to the experts that can give you factual and objective information. I trust that you will do your due diligence, and I know that you will act in favor of the greater good of our community. And in so doing, you will arrive to the conclusion that this bill should not pass.
Thankfully, they did not arrive to that conclusion. This bill was passed and signed into law by then Governor Calvo. This is just amazing. This is the rhetoric of pro-abortionists. Now, we're not talking about infants. We're talking about what they still deem an out-of-sight, out-of-mind issue of a baby, a human that's not born yet. But to Lulian Guerrero, private citizen Lulian Guerrero at the time, and I'm sure her sentiments are probably still the same, an infant that is born on the table is an issue of pro-choice or pro-life. Are you kidding me? An infant not receiving medical care is not a concern for the government because we have too many other things to think about. So this is simply a matter of pro-choice or pro-life. An infant. That is who we voted in. You know who wrote this bill? Frank Uggan. Senator Frank Uggan. He was the one who authored it and sponsored it. Guess who beat Frank Uggan in the primaries in 2016? Was it 2018? It's amazing. And I bet you a lot of people don't even know that Lulian Guerrero promoted a form of infanticide back in 2013, and it's documented because she did it publicly. I'm going to go to a break. You're listening to Tall Tales here on KUSG 93.3 FM. Don't go away.
Tell me about it, stud.
Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Festival is back on Saturday, October 22nd. We rockin' and rollin' at the Dusatani Quam Resort from 2 to 10 p.m. Bring your friends and come dressed in your best grease costume to win up to $500 in cash and prizes. So bust out those leather jackets and 50-style outfits as we party the night away at Circle K's Craft Beer and Whiskey Fest. Don't be a square. Get your tickets now at craftbeerfestguam.com or cruise on by any 76 Circle K location. Now that's cool, baby.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's Best 5 years running. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus to naktak, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet hamburgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tuman location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
The home stretch, Churchill Downs, and in the green room we have Dr. Ron McNitch. Good afternoon, Doc. You want to talk about the debates?
Happy day, Jose. Happy day, Guam.
How you doing?
Very good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I heard the news about the debates. I hope that just overall we'll see more debates, and I do encourage all the candidates to go to debates. And I saw Chris Barnett did like a solo debate,
right?
And the other candidates didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
My old advice to everyone is, if a debate is scheduled and the other side doesn't show up, then you hold it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the best route to go. I'm not really sure. I know that there's some tension over the arrangements that are being made for some of the debates, but those always happen with debates.
Right. It's not new, but
nothing new.
But how often are letters written to the editor crying how detrimental not attending the debate is for the whole island?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are folks who use this issue as a political tool,
mm-hmm.
and that's normal also. But I think in general, and I don't want to sound flippant about this, sometimes it's better if there's not a debate, because hearing what some people have to say sometimes isn't such a great thing.
Maybe not ready for prime time. Is that what you mean?
Well, just they're not giving us any information that's substantive or genuine,
Or new.
Or new, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing new that they're telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and sometimes they'll get away with it, and other times they're asked only very easy questions that anybody could have looked at their websites and answered, and there's all kinds of other little elements like that. But I have been very pleased since I've been here with many of the debates that have been held. There's always the great debate, which should happen this election season. It's usually the biggest debate of the election season for governor, and we should have a lot of folks come out for that. I think also part of this is that because of the lopsidedness of the primary, the Republican side didn't have to debate at all, and the Democrat side did have to debate. And so, sometimes that can create different dynamics on how people view debates. But I certainly like debates, and I do like to hear from particularly our gubernatorial candidates in their debates and hear what they have to say.
Now, as far as we have a month to go before the elections.
Right.
Do debates that are held in this time really change anything? Do you think people are already set in their minds of how they're going to vote, or do you think those people who are set are going to do the early voting? I mean, what do you've been doing these elections for a long time? Have you seen any numbers on that? Have you collected any data on this?
I actually have very good data on that, and I should say that I don't know about the effect of early voting in general, but I can say that during the month of October, there are very dynamic shifts and changes that go on. And part of it's from debates, part of it's from just people developing their opinion or changing their opinion, and people do change their opinion. On Guam, people do not vote strictly Democrat or Republican. They vote all over the place. Unfortunately, we make them only vote for Democrat or Republican in the nonsense primaries that we have. We should use something I would call a qualifying primary rather than a partisan primary, and that would be just like the general election ballot, only you don't have to follow the party lines, and a person qualifies by having sufficient votes at the primary to proceed. But because we do it so artificially, we're not really given a good measure of what's going to happen at the general election. And I can say in 2002 and 2006, there were dynamic changes going on during October for Governor Camacho when he was running against former Congressman Underwood.
Has this been a quiet season?
Well,
can you say that about this one?
This happened in the month of October. So it really heats up in October. And also, it's a little bit unusual because there was no Republican primary really for governor. And so that makes it a little bit more of a longer fuse, so to speak. Also, in 2010 and 2014, there were heavy-duty dynamics going on for Governor Calvo and Governor Gutierrez. We said it was a head-to-head horse race, and it was in 2010. In 2014, mainly because of incumbency and other things, it was a fairly stable, polling results leading into 2 weeks into the election. But I have to say the month of October is absolutely the magical month for people to change their minds on who they're going to vote for governor. And all political candidates should be aware of that, or at least know about this. I've talked about it many times to public audiences, that October, Halloween isn't the only trick-or-treat that happens during this time frame in our governor's races. Trick-or-treat affects them all. And, particularly now, it doesn't so much matter, and I've talked about this many times over the years with Ray. This year, the All Souls Day, All Saints Day, Halloween cycle won't affect the race as much because the election itself is on November 8th.
Different weekend,
Right, it's not bracketed by the long weekend. But I have to say that still people are going to have those long weekends, and they're going to celebrate those long weekends a little bit more, and there can be very strong changes in opinion. And one other key thing I've noticed, and I've noticed this a lot, people trust social media too much. The
Right.
bot reality of social media is making some of these candidates think that they're a lot more secure than they really are. And they don't realize that these are just artificial numbers created by machines to then pack votes this way or that way. I saw this one poll on Moylan versus Wampat. Doesn't even simply come close to reflecting reality.
I
mean,
haven't
not
seen
even
those. Yeah.
close.
Those polls are interesting. What I find interesting, and since I sit in here for Bob Klitzkie, is I'm doing a lot of reading online, because we don't have a lot of periodicals available to us here on Guam. And I'm noticing a lot of these news sites or news aggregator sites rely on Twitter to report news. And I'm like, how is that news? You're just reporting other people's opinions, which is, a dime a dozen. But it's interesting to see both conservative and left sites and liberal sites both making articles, and they're not even opinion pieces. They're just stating news pieces, all based off of Twitter comments. And I try to stay away from that because I don't want to read other people's opinion. I just want to hear, the news.
Elon Musk buying Twitter is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you.
I'm watching that.
He's going to be the total. The total savior of the planet when it comes to information.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact he does not play when it comes to nonsense like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. How much of an impact do we think that really has on the political landscape? And they said it did, because they tried. Some of these Twitter and Facebook and other social media was censoring and blocking different opinions based on their version of disinformation. How much did it affect the elections? Not really sure how we can quantify that. Do you know how? You're a pollster.
Sure. The fact and the reality is they totally sunk all of the Hunter Biden information.
That's true.
They absolutely totally sunk it. They refused to report on it. Leslie Stahl openly hectored Donald Trump when he mentioned it in their interview before the election, and she was an absolute hypocrite. It sunk 60 Minutes down to its stentorial level of the ear of the news to everybody. The E.F. Hutton of news used to be 60 Minutes, and it totally
very respectable.
Right, it totally threw them into the sewer of disinformation.
Yeah,
and that's the reality. And at some point, we're going to see Maven media emerge. That is, we're going to see places like Elon Musk is involved with that you're going to get fair, accurate, objective information. It's not going to be distorted by the BS electronic warfare games that people are playing with current social media. And it's going to really improve everything. And I think we're within, probably 2 years of that with Musk coming into taking over Twitter, because I think everybody knows he's going to clean house. I mean, that's the reality. He's going to make Twitter the website that everybody, you, me, everybody on the island, it's gonna make Facebook the MySpace of today.
Well, let's see. We'll mark this down as a prediction. Ron, I want to thank you for calling in. I'm looking forward to your analysis on everything in the next coming weeks and up to the election. I have somebody else in the green room. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Take it easy.
Thank you so much. I love your show, man.
Thank you very much. Jack, you have a couple of minutes. What say you? How you doing?
Jose, don't be scared, man, of the Chinese coming in. Right?
What are you talking about?
All right? Don't be scared. Okay?
Why would you be bringing that up? I didn't say any names,
listen,
Jack.
all
I didn't say
right?
any names. Yeah.
The Chinese have satellites, okay?
Right.
They have satellites. If you don't believe me, just go out to your backyard. I'm sure you'll find a piece of it that fell out of the sky back in 2019.
Well, I hope they're watching Tall Tales, because it's time to say goodbye to our leader. Say it with me, Jack. Let's go, Brandon. Have a great weekend.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Closer to nuclear catastrophe. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Biden warning the world is closer to Armageddon now than at any other time since the Cuban Missile Crisis of 60 years ago. The president telling a Democrat Party fundraiser in New York last night that Russia's President Putin isn't joking when he threatens to use tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The White House has previously said they've communicated directly with Moscow on what kind of response Russian use of nuclear weapons would bring, saying it would be catastrophic. Vladimir Putin's 70th birthday is today. Earlier, President Biden issued sweeping pardons for people convicted of federal pot possession charges.
I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana. There are thousands of people who are convicted for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result of that conviction.
The president urging governors to pardon people convicted under state marijuana laws as well. Federal investigators reportedly believe they have enough evidence to charge the president's son, Hunter Biden, with tax crimes.
A source with knowledge of the investigation tells Fox News it has reached a significant and critical phase. Also, federal investigators are no longer collecting evidence. It's moved past that point and is now in the hands of the United States Attorney in Delaware. The investigation moved over the summer from the FBI to the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. Justice Department policy is not to file politically sensitive charges in the 2 months or so before a federal election. Since Biden is not on the ballot, this rule may not apply.
Fox's David Spunt, a North Carolina man, has pled guilty to plotting with other members of the Proud Boys to violently stop the transfer of presidential power following the 2020 election. Jeremy Bertino is the first member of the group to plead guilty to seditious conspiracy. America is listening to Fox News.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Transom.com daily newsletter, and I'm inviting you to join a conversation every week with the smartest thinkers out there about the issues Americans face and where we're going as a nation. This show will feature deep dive interviews with newsmakers and some of your favorite Fox News analysts. I hope you'll join me as we dive into the fray. It's the Ben Domenech Podcast.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Testimony began yesterday in the trial of the man accused of plowing his car through the Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin last year.